Good evening, everyone. Let me put my thing on. Miss Warner Wiggins,
Yes.
I think we're waiting on Miss Tolson.
Yes.
Okay. Can you send her a quick message?
Sure.
I know I did hear from Miss I heard from Miss Jackson. She won't be able to join us.
Okay.
Hi, Miss Nelson, Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Smith. I don't know if you guys can. I don't know what's going on. I can't really hear you guys.
Can you hear me? Good evening.
I can hear you now. Good evening. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my voice is going here. It is leaving. So Commissioner Teacher might be doing a little bit more of the talking tonight. But do we have a motion to begin, to start? I think we have everybody on the call.
I move that we start the meeting.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Good evening, commissioners. As we sent out, who is
Heard
that?
that.
Who?
That sounds like a robot.
Whose is that?
I don't know.
Commissioner Teacher, is that you? I don't know.
Miss Warner Wiggins, is that you?
No, I think that is Miss Balachandran. Are you frozen? Are you able to hear us?
Oh no,
Yes. Okay.
no. Commissioner Teacher, you're gonna have to come in and come back out. Something wrong with your audio. Oh, ooh, that sounds real
having
October.
kids.
Yeah. That sounded real. Y'all, listen. I was about to. We was about to come back on another day. That sounded real uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No.
Blink twice if you're okay.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh, Lord of mercy. Well, when she comes back in, like I said, my throat has been going, and I just want to make sure my voice has been going. I just want to make sure I protect that. Hopefully, her audio is better. Commissioner Teacher, something's wrong with your audio. Is there any way you can?
I wonder if you can try calling in for your audio using the phone audio.
Teacher.
You're scary now.
Do that part, Commissioner. How about you? Yeah. Oh, she gone? Maybe text her to just join. Let me text her. Hold on, y'all.
Commissioner Smith, do you have the background? I'm gonna say no.
I haven't used it. I guess you've sent it before. I could search for it and see if I can put it up.
I can send it out again.
Oh, that sounds good. I think I'm looking for it as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Can we put it in the chat? Is that quicker? I don't know
sure.
if it is or not. I don't know, just guessing.
Okay.
All right.
Like, turn some lights on.
I feel like she's probably restarting her computer or laptop or whatever's going on. I do want to make sure that while we're waiting, just kind of starting a little bit while we have enough time. Does everyone have, if everyone will look in their email, Miss Warner Wiggins sent at about, or not Miss Warner Wiggins, Commissioner Satitra sent yesterday at 5:47 p.m. the final PowerPoint that we'll be going over today. It has a total of 22 slides. I was wondering, well, not wondering, I was suggesting that we break up the slides amongst the commissioners who would like to present. And then, okay, you want to try again?
How's it?
Oh, we're
There we
back.
go. That's, yeah.
Welcome
'Cause
back.
It just went out
yes.
and came back into Zoom.
Yeah, this for a minute there.
Yeah. So teacher, I was just talking, Commissioner, so teacher, I was just talking about the breakdown of the presentation first. I know I'm kind of going out of order, but I kind of, yeah, trying to save my voice. There's 22 slides. And then I figured that, like I said, the commissioners that want to present, I hope you guys had a chance to look over it. And we could just break it up. I know myself, Commissioner Satitra, Commissioner Dan would like to take up the slides. I'm thinking for myself, just number 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first 4 slides, 5. I'll take over the first 5 slides. They're pretty self-explanatory to a huge degree. And then the next set of slides, does anyone have a preference? Let me start there.
No.
No?
Something easy.
So, I mean,
You said what? What'd you say? What'd you say, Mr. Commissioner Nelson?
Something easy like, here's our email address.
You could, so slide 22 is Commissioner Nelson. Slide,
Yeah, come right on in.
slide 22 is Commissioner Nelson.
I
And
I think what we can do is Dan and I could piggyback. If there's something that we feel at the end of the slide someone hasn't said, we could say it, because then I feel like then it's complete, because there's no point having sort of missing information that somebody else has and would like to say. So I think
that's fine.
Can I moderate
so
that?
I don't care how they're divided. But yeah, so if you want to do the first, what did you say, 5?
Yeah, I'll do the first 5. Commissioner
Okay.
Nelson will do.
And then-
Commissioner Nelson will do slide 22.
Yeah.
Can I moderate the chat?
Sure.
And then Commissioner Tolson, did you want to do maybe slide 6 and 6, 7, and 8? Would that work for you?
No, I got a screaming toddler here tonight.
So no, no worries. Listen, I totally understand toddler life. So it's totally fine if we split 6 through 21 between Dan and Satitra. So maybe 6 all the way up to, I don't know, how far do y'all want to go, Dan and Satitra?
I could, how about we go through like 16, and I could just do the end like 17, which is the scenario that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and then the
17 is the funding that the commission adopted.
yes,
Yeah.
and then
So
to the end, which is just
Okay, 16
5
through
slides. 20.
21. Oh, 20. Can we, Brandy, you're going to be in control of the slides. Can you look at this presentation and on your end, on your end, it has the mission statement. Well, no, we'll just leave that in. Dan, you could do 16 through 20, and then Ms. Nelson, Commissioner Nelson, you do 21 just to reaffirm our mission again, and 21 and 22. Thank you,
And I
Ms.
was
Warner
doing
Wiggins.
7 through,
Oh,
You'll do 6 through 15.
okay. Okay.
Miss Richardson, what I wanted you to do is, or Curtis Richardson, I wanted you to look to see, because on my screen, and it could just be my screen, there are parts of the presentation that just have like an exclamation point in that little, it's not bringing up the picture, but I just want to make sure that when you are able to run it through us, you're able to bring it up. I think you're on mute or you're very low, one of the two.
Oh, how about now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, sometimes the first few notes in my computer for some reason wants to silence me. One moment, let me bring it up.
Mhm.
Which slide is that for you, Commissioner Parker, that you can't see?
9, 13, 14, 15,
Oh,
and
the
17.
graphs. Okay, okay.
Yeah, 9, 13, 14, 15, and 17. So I think it might be just mines. So I just want to make sure, because Miss Curtis Richards will be doing like, hey, next slide, next slide. So I want to make sure when she's able to put it up, that it's able to just go fluid. And then this is being recorded, and we are going to you know, have this go out to other HOAs and civic associations out throughout the county. So just be mindful of that during the presentation. We're giving the information for the public to understand as much as possible. You know, if someone is presenting and you are coming behind them, just make sure you're not cutting them off. Let them finish that presentation, and then kind of like slide in real quick. Just one more note on this particular slide. Yeah, you could do that. That's totally fine. But
Will,
just,
will
go
there,
ahead.
when y'all are doing your presentation, will you all pause for any questions, or how do you, if I see something in the chat or anything like that, how do you want that handled at the end?
Yeah, well, let's do all the questions at the end.
Okay.
And we can have Ms. Warner Wiggins or Ms. Curtis Richards just kind of give us the questions at the end of the presentation. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the long and short for that. That I think is appropriate. Do we have any outstanding things that we want to say, or yeah, can you go to slide 9? Yeah, okay. That's fine. As long as it can be seen on this, that's great. And then we're gonna start promptly at like the 6:30 mark. So we're not gonna start before, just to make sure that, you know, we told everyone 6:30. It's gonna come at 6:30, and we'll do it from that perspective. Okay. Powering through, y'all. So also I'll put it in the chat. And I'm gonna let commissioners Satitra and Commissioner Dan go ahead and talk about the second part of our agenda tonight, which is a briefing or summary of our meeting with the Office of Budget and Finance, which it went really well. But I'm gonna let them, so I could save my voice, y'all. I'm gonna let them go ahead and start.
You want to stop, Dan?
well, just that we had a very good meeting. It was a Zoom meeting, and staff, and then the officials from the administration dealing with the budget and finance. And so they walked us through the process for doing a supplemental budget. And so we had sent our letter, and it looks like there may be just, and also things are a bit up in the air because of the election, and there will be a transition to an interim executive director, and then we'll have another special election for the county executive. The county executive, interim county executive. But basically, they said it was a political matter, and that to get the funding, we would need to essentially they advised us to reach out to the county council and to the public, but that the end of December or early January was likely that there would be a supplemental request from the administration that would happen, but it doesn't happen quickly, so it has to originate in the executive with the executive. The request is submitted to the council, and the council then I believe that it could take 2 months from the time they receive till they review it, have hearings, schedule a public hearing, and then vote on a supplemental. That's a little bit of the framework. Do you want to step into some more details?
So one of the points that the director of finance made was if the budget stays the way it is and we get no additional money and 2 people run for each seat, then each person would only get 11% of the match that they were entitled to get. Right. So because unless, I guess this is my take on it. So unless the program is somehow carved out and some seats are not allowed to run publicly financed, and that sort of legislation is created by the council, then anybody district at large executive can run publicly financed, and the division of the money would then have to be made according to what there is in the kitty. So what else? I think, from our end, it's what we need to do is this is the time for us to be submitting to the council and the executive, the FY 2026 request. At least, to think about that in our next meeting and to figure out what we want to, what is the request we want to make. I'm not sure, so if people have thoughts on that or where we go from here, I think it would be good to hear.
I will say that I love the disposition that we have continued to have as a commission in context to fighting for the appropriate funding for this program, because I think that is, our charge. And I think that that's important to a huge degree. I do want to say that just in light of the week's recent events preceding, a lot of stuff has kind of come out in context to just where we are financially as a state. And then I'm wondering how that will affect us as a county. But again, I'm not saying that in regards to changing our position as much as I'm saying it as, we have enough people on this call to make sure that we're able to articulate our same position in spite of what we know is the current financial condition or the financial condition that says that it's coming. And if anyone doesn't know what I'm referencing, just today, within the last 24 hours, they came out with just kind of a financial forecast for the state of Maryland. And they talked about some funding gaps for the state of Maryland. And as that we're a county in Maryland, I'm sure that that is going to have some trickle-down effects. So just to kind of be mindful of that, but also keeping the charge that we have done is really the point that I would like to highlight in this speech. But does anyone else have any thoughts?
I mean, it was brought up. There was one question put to us: is there a smaller number that we could recommend? And I think that's sort of a challenge for us. That's something I guess we should talk about. I mean, I think it's like a chicken and egg thing where, if there's no funding, then, no additional funding, then it's going to be difficult to have anything work. There's enough funding now. 400,000 is enough for 5 at large, but the legislation doesn't allow, the finance director.
It's for 2 at large. It's for 5 districts.
I mean, I'm sorry, district.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misspoke there. Yeah. So, it really is difficult. Given that program is coming together so late, and I think people are probably already starting to think about campaigns for that next election, that anyway, it's important to get some funds in there, but it will be difficult if we have a real shortfall and the legislation still is in effect, that the finance director just has to reduce the payout by a portion to everyone. Because when that has to be done at the end of June, we're not even going to know how many people would have filed. So obviously, if there's not money there, I doubt people are going to file to want to run a public campaign. But if there's some money there, it will be, there's not flexibility in the legislation to say, well, we're not going to fund a county executive race, for example, which is the most expensive. So I think in the short term, if there's any way, I think it's still worth trying to get any amount in a supplemental, even if it's like the $400,000 that was originally put in by the executive last year that was taken out. I don't think that's enough to make the program, but if we got that, and then we're able to get the total amount matched in the next fiscal budget. Anyway, I think we should keep advocating, keep clawing our way and trying to have, I think it's important with this. We shouldn't just succumb to the budget challenge of the day. We need to rise up, I think, and really support democracy and broadening the base of voters and try to ignite interest in this program.
Agree.
So I make kind of a couple of suggestions. One is that we seek a meeting with the council, whoever wants to come, but definitely, the chair plus whoever would like to attend that meeting to discuss the program. And we seek a meeting with the executive, because we have sought meetings with the council, with the county staff, and they have told us that it's not within their purview to discuss details of the program, and that should go to the people who enacted the program. So I think we should seek a meeting with both of them. And then if the program is to be decreased in financial terms, then the council should indicate which seats they want it to be funded for. The cheapest seats are the council district seats. So then the legislation would have to be modified to say this program in this year is only for the council district seats. And if that is what they want to do, then they need to enact that in legislation, because we can't act on that basis. We have to act on the basis of what the current legislation is, as you said. So those are the 2 points that occur to me. But because as of now, we're just making all these recommendations and seems to be going nowhere at all. So I mean, it's unclear to me how we make any further meaningful recommendations, except along the path that we've already taken, which is 2 candidates fully matched for each seat. How we make the decision to make any changes to that without shortchanging candidates who run for those seats.
Yeah, I also think, so I do think that we should seek a meeting with the county executive in the time that she's still present. And then the county council, and then go from there. So we could draft a letter asking for that. I think we did ask to meet with the county council last year. I think it was right around budget time. And they were kind of like, oh, well, we're in the middle of budget season and we don't have the time, something to that effect. But I definitely think that we could ask for that and that we should ask for that as soon as possible. Yeah. And then also, I think it also going to play into just public awareness. I'm glad we're doing the presentation today. I know that Commissioner Smith and I will be on a call tomorrow for a civic association meeting. And then just really, as we've been talking about for months, and I know that we've been talking about it for months and we have like the document and things of that nature, but we really do need to start getting in front of the civic associations, the homeowner associations, the Maryland League of Women Voters, the Divine Nine within the area, just to help them understand how important this program is and why it needs to continue and it needs to be funded. I think that's very important, particularly in this time and climate. I know that we as a commission have stayed very factual in context to what needs to happen for the commission, but I think the other part of it is the reason why there is fair elections, the reason why we've asked for fair elections, or we've asked for candidate matching grants and funds and things of that nature, is because there was a cry from the public to have support for grassroots candidates that would put the people in public first in their agenda in elected office, and support for those who weren't established political figures. And that's really the long and short. That's the history of the program. That's the reasoning behind the program. That's where you see it throughout the state of Maryland. And that's pretty much like something that we also need to make sure that we are communicating to the public in context to the importance of this program. And it's not to say that someone else who is established isn't looking out for the people or anything like that, but it is to say that this is the reason why people requested for this particular piece of legislation and why it was voted in.
So one other suggestion. How about if we could each of us as commissioners like make an attempt or a commitment to try to meet with our own council member, and it could be that we meet individually with them, but maybe with the chair or vice chair or something, so that there could be 2 or 3 people at each of those meetings. But even if we, instead of first starting with a formal presentation, say at a committee meeting or something, we would just meet with each individual member to just get their get their feedback and to express what we're trying to do. And then if we could do that over the next few weeks, then we could set up a meeting, try to do a meeting as soon as possible with the new county council chair and the county executive interim or staff putting the budget together again.
I like Jana's point about trying to meet with the county executive before she resigns. I think that would be useful. Useful thing if we can make happen. And I agree with with everything that you said, Dan, about meeting up with individual council members before we tried to meet up with them as a group. We don't have folks living in every district, I think, but I think we can reach across boundaries and make those happen. So should we start to try to make those meetings happen?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And then we can coordinate via email who has been able to set up a meeting with which council member. That way we can know who to pair people up with and things of that nature. I know my council member and a couple of other council members who we can meet with as well as just as a whole. And we can workshop this more on via email because I think there's some things. Yeah, I think we can have Commissioner Nelson meet with some council members while I meet with others. I think that would go over a little. So we can figure it out via email. But it is 6:30, and you guys know I'm very much like start early, leave early. But no, let's go ahead and start our presentation. For those of you who are on the call with us, this is the Fair Elections Commission, and we are going to go ahead and begin our presentation in relation to our commission and our duties and things of that nature. Ms. Curtis Richards or Ms. Warner Wiggins, if you can go ahead and bring up the
You want to give it a
slideshow.
couple of minutes for folks to get in at 6:30? Is that, are people in already? Do we know?
I think we have 12.
We have 2 attendees at the moment.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's give it a minute, maybe.
I was ready to start, y'all.
Okay.
But we can wait. No, we can wait. I'm
Yeah.
just joking with you, Commissioner Teacher. We can wait. It's a good idea. But yeah, we'll coordinate through email on who's gonna meet with who and then go from there. And then if we could have a letter asking to meet with the county executive, that would be great. I think the gavel exchange is on like the 3rd or the 6th, if I'm not mistaken, for when they vote for a new chair.
It's the
So that
first
gives them
Monday, right?
the first
Yeah,
Monday in
first-
December. That's the first Monday in December.
I think so.
I believe it's the 5th, December 5th.
Oh, it is? Okay.
So we should wait till then to set up to meet with the new chair. I think.
Yeah, we can wait till then. But we can wait till the 5th to meet with the new or after the 5th to meet with the new chair, but we can set up the meetings with the elected officials prior to that.
Yes.
The gavel exchange is the 3rd. That's the Tuesday. It's the 3rd.
5th is when
sorry,
they
I just
elect
looked
the
it
new
up.
chair.
Yeah, it's the 3rd. It's Tuesday the 3rd. So we could meet with someone theoretically on the 5th, but the exchange is going to be on the 3rd.
Okay.
So.
I think it's new ground for all of us because really no other county has had. It's no point looking at the commissions of other counties and asking them what they did because they haven't had the issues that we're having with funding. We've had other issues, but not this. So.
No, we're special over in Prince George's County because, we're gorgeous and we're amazing and we're going to get it done. Yeah. But the 3rd is the gavel exchange. We can start scheduling meetings before then. And then we can ask I think we need to send a letter to the county executive's office as soon as possible. Because I think she would be resigning or thereabout pretty soon in context to her historic.
Try to get that
Mhm.
meeting for next week then.
Mhm, mhm. If she's available.
Right.
Congratulations to her as well. Congratulations on her historic win. Ah,
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes,
yes, yes. All right, it's 6:35. We good,
here we go.
Commissioner? All right, let's get it. So I'm gonna start from like right here. That way when we edit it, it can kind of be edited from like maybe the introduction point. But here we go. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Mrs. J.M. Parker, and this is the Fair Election Fund's presentation on our commission, the history of this particular piece of legislation, and its importance within Prince George's County. We're going to start right now. So this is our first slide. If you can go to the next, please. So the mission of the Fair Elections Commission is that, Prince George's County, Maryland's Fair Election Fund is a public campaign financing program established to promote and encourage broader access to elected office in the county and prevent large donations from having undue influence in our county government. The program is intended to enable citizens of Prince George's County to run for office on the strength of their ideas, supported by small donations and from supported by small donations from community members and matching funds from the Fair Elections Fund. Next slide. So a little bit of history, a little bit of context. The Maryland Campaign Finance Reform Act of 2013 authorized public campaign finance programs for the election of county executive and county councils. The Prince George's County Fair Election Fund was established in 2018 to offer a publicly funded campaign finance option beginning with the 2026 county elections. This is legislation CB-099-2018. That's the legislation establishing the program. Amendments were made in 2023, and that legislation is CB-076-2023. Other Maryland jurisdictions with public campaign finance programs include Montgomery County in 2014, Howard County in 2016, and Baltimore City in 2020. On the next slide. So the Fair Elections Commission has 7 members, 5 that were nominated by the County Council, with at least 1 member representing an organization focused on government reform, and 2 that were nominated by the County Executive. Next slide. And so our current commissioners and county staff are, the commissioners include me, Mrs. J.M. Parker, I am the chair, Commissioner Satitra Balachandran, who is the vice chair, Commissioner Monica Jackson, Commissioner Keisha Nelson, Commissioner Dan Smith, Commissioner Cecilia D. Tolson, and Commissioner A. Diane Williams. Our wonderful county staff include Ms. Brandy L. Curtis Richards, Mrs. Jacqueline R. Warner Wiggins, Ms. Terry L. Bell, Esquire, Mr. Leroy Maddox, Esquire, and Mrs. Linda Allen. Okay, I'm going to switch over now.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. I'm Suchitra Balachandran. I'm just going to continue with the slideshow. Starting with the Commission's responsibilities. We have 2 major responsibilities. The first is to make an annual budget recommendation for the program. And we do that by letter, and we make it to the county executive and the county council when the budget is being formulated. So that is, we do it in the fall. And the budget, as you know, is presented by the county executive to the council around the beginning of March, I think, and is finalized by the end of May. So that is a responsibility that we have. And then after the election is over, we are supposed to conduct a review and analysis of the program, make recommendations for what worked and what did not, and make a report on that back to the back to the council and the executive, and determine whether the matching money rate is sufficient, whether it should be increased for the next cycle, whether it met the needs of the candidates, and so on. So that is part of the analysis that we conduct. Next slide, please. So as you saw in a previous slide, our legislation was passed in 2018. The first commission meeting was held in October 2013. The commission was not set up until sort of partway through 2023. And we met on October 13th, 2023, 4.5 years after the passage of the county's legislation. Our meetings are held virtually the first Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. and they're open to the public. So if you would like to listen to our discussions, please join us the first Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. There's registration links for you to sign up to get the Zoom invite to join our meetings. Next slide, please. So, oops, I think I lost that. So what is the program? I wanted to sort of briefly explain how the public financing program works. You don't just walk in off the road and get public dollars. It is a long and arduous process to show that you are, one, supported by members of the community. So the process is the following. You first close any existing campaign account that you have from previous campaigns you may have run. You file a notice of intent saying that you're going to run publicly financed, and you open a new campaign account. And then you have to meet 2 benchmarks. And the benchmarks, the dollar amount for the benchmarks and the number of contributions vary depending on the seat. You must collect a certain amount of money, and you must collect it from a minimum number of donors. And all these donors must be county residents. And only if you meet these 2 benchmarks do you get certified by the State Board of Elections. And once you get certified, the monies that you raise are matched by county matching public dollars. So in a way, it is as if the residents of the county are telling the county, this is a candidate we support, please use our tax dollars to support this candidate, right? So that is the idea behind it. And the last note, which on this slide says you must close your campaign finance account. You must do that at the very beginning before you apply for the public financing match. Next slide, please. So how many contributions and what is the aggregate amount? That is what this slide is telling us. It says, so if you're running for county executive, you must collect 500 contributions, which total $40,000, right? And there is a limit to the size of the donation you can get from anybody in the county, and that is $250. And that applies uniformly across the board for all these races. So 500 contributions, totaling $40,000 if you're running for county executive, 250 contributions totaling $15,000 if you're running for an at-large seat, and 150 contributions totaling $7,500 if you're running for a county council district seat. Next slide, please. So this is a very interesting graph because it lays out exactly how the matching process works, right? The match is not a one-to-one match. It's not as if you give somebody $10 and the county gives $10. This program is called the Small Donor Funded Election Program for the reason that the smallest dollars from the financially weakest sections of our society are matched the greatest, right? So that their voice is elevated over the voices of donors with deep pockets. So if you give $25 to a candidate, that candidate gets $175 in matching money after they have qualified. Now, you don't get any matching money till you've qualified and met the benchmarks that were laid out in the previous slide. But once you've qualified, your $25 will get you $200 in the bank, not in the bank, in your campaign account. The next $50 is matched 5 to 1. So that gives you $250. And then the next $75 after that is a 1-to-1 match. And the match ends at that point. So $150 is the maximum amount of money that gets matched by the county. The remaining $100 you're allowed to give, but it receives no match. So if you get a total of $250 from a resident of the county, then you have an additional $500 added to that. So that makes it $750. So that's the amplification. That's the small donor funded program. And that's the public match that this legislation and legislation like this in other counties in Maryland say for the small donor program. Next slide, please. And so there is not an endless stream of money that you get depending on how much you raise. There's just like you have a qualification of how much money you have to raise to get into the program. There's also maximum matching dollar amount that you will get from the public fund for the race that you are running. So these maximum match amounts are the ones that we are supposed to, the commission is supposed to sort of review every year and say, is this a fair amount of money? What did a non-publicly financed candidate spend for running for the executive seat? What do they spend for running for an at-large seat, for a district seat, and so on? And is the small donor funded program in sync with what an average candidate is spending, right? And so right now, for the executive seat, the maximum public match is set at $750,000. So that's the maximum public dollars that you will get, in addition to the contributions that you raised from the small donors. For the at-large county council seat, you will get $200,000. And for the district seat, you will get $75,000. And you can sort of calculate, well, how much does that give you in hand? And there are calculations depending on how you raise your money, what totals you end up with. But let's say roughly for the district council seat, you will end up with, if you raise $50 contributions for the most part, you will end up with about $87,500 to run your campaign, right? The other advantage of this program, besides talking about the money, is you are free to go and talk to people who you might otherwise not have had the time to go and speak to, because you have to also raise money from other sources, right? So you can forget about where your money is coming from and simply take your message across to the voters, and they can give you small quantities of donations for this. And when this program was legislated in 2018, we actually got one of the candidates running in the neighboring county to come and speak before our council about the program. And she spoke about how she launched the program at Langley Park Farmers Market. And when she went to Langley Park Farmers Market and spoke to people who were on food stamps, they were buying their food with food stamps. Nobody had ever approached them for donations, leave alone a candidate. And when they heard that the $5 that they would give her would be worth $25 to them, she said their eyes lit up in a way that they had never thought they could get engaged in a public election campaign, given their economic status. So I think that is the goal of this program, and that is the purpose. So the next slide, please. And a few other technical details about this program, that the matching monies start 1 year before the primary election, and they end 15 days after the general election. And if you don't have any opponent in the race, you don't get any money. You don't get any matching money. I think that's it's a fair way. You're in there because there's nobody running against you. So you don't get any public money. The only funds that are matched, you can get contributions from outside the county. They're limited to $250, and you can't take any PAC money or any corporate funds, anything of that nature. But only the monies that are received from county residents are matched. Funds that remain in the campaign account. So at the end of the campaign, you zero out your campaign account. Everything that is left in that is considered public money, and you return all of that back to the county's coffers. So we're getting to this point where we have what happens if there's not enough money, right? And on July 1st of the year preceding the primary election, which is for us would be July 1st of 2025, the county's finance director will determine if the amount of money in the fund is sufficient to meet the maximum public contribution that can be reasonably expected to be required, right? It's all guesswork at this point, but how much money is there and how many people can we fund? And if it is not sufficient, which it is not right now, the public contribution public contribution will be reduced by the same percentage for all the candidates across the board. And we'll get to this a bit later as well. And you can find the summary of the program details in the manual, which is on the Fair Elections Fund website. I think I might have reached, I'm not sure what slide number this is, but have I reached the end of my piece? Yeah, okay.
Keep going there, yes.
All right, okay, yeah. All right, so the question is then, how do we determine how much money the Prince George's Fund needs, right? We currently have $400,000 in it. And it's not easy. It's not easy to determine how much money you will need because you don't know how many candidates are running and you don't know whether they will be successful in qualifying and whether they'll be successful in getting to the maximum match. So you can start in many ways, right? This is an analysis, this table is an analysis that was done by the county before the 2018 legislation. And it tells you how many people ran for county executive going from 2006 to 2022. And for at-large, whenever the at-large seat started in 2018, and for the district. So you can say, gosh, this is a lot of candidates who ran. So how much, if they all ran and they all got fully matched, how much money would we need? That's one way of going about it. But thankfully, we do have experience from neighboring counties on how this program has worked. Next slide, please. So in Montgomery County, the program has been run for 2 elections, 2018 and 2022. And we know for county council, for at-large, for district council, how many candidates ran and how many of them opted into the small donor public financing program. And so for executive, it has been about 30, once it was 50%, once it was 30%. And for all the other seats, it's been roughly around 30%. So 1/3 of the candidates chose to run publicly financed. The other 2/3 used the traditional route for their campaigns and did not use public finance. Continue, please. And then the question is, just, qualification is one hurdle, but you have to continue to raise money to reach the maximum contribution from the county, right? And so how successful were the candidates in getting fully matched and raising 100% of the public match? It was 18% in 2018 and 30% in 2022, right? That's a number who managed to get the full match. So 1/3 of the candidates chose to run, and then of the candidates who chose to run, 100% of the funding was only obtained by about 30% in the second cycle. So it's not an easy goal. It's not meant to be an easy goal. It is public money you're giving to the candidates, and they have to show that they have the support of the community in order to get that money. Next slide, please. And this is the same view graph as that in a pie chart form. It tells you how the money that was allocated, how much of the money that was given out went to candidates who got 100% match. And you can see that it's about 30% of the candidates received it, and what fraction of the funds went to them. So there's analyses of this kind which gives you some idea that it is you have to, of course, make a guess when you put the money in of how many candidates may run and how many candidates will receive the full match for each of the seats. And so that forms part of the discussion, but keeping in mind all the time that no money is wasted. If candidates do not succeed in receiving the match, the money simply stays in the fund and it goes back into the public coffers at the end of the election. Next slide, please. So our minimal, was this you, Dan? Is this where you're starting?
This is where we're going to transition.
Okay, right, thank you. So it's all yours, Dan. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I'm Dan Smith, and so another member of the commission. Thank you. So what in the development of the legislation, and our deliberations was how many people are likely to run and use the public funding option. And so here's a scenario that is 2 candidates for each of the offices. 2 for county executive, which means the fund would need, if they maxed out, $750,000 each. District council, 9 seats, 18 candidates. At large would be 4 candidates. So that was the scenario that was discussed a lot when the legislation was being developed and as we developed our recommendation. And so this is what we started with as, as an optimal amount that we recommend to be in the fund, so that the candidates and the public could have confidence that those running could depend on having a fund. So that's 3.65 million. Okay, next slide. But as we just saw, though, in Montgomery County and the other examples, a lot of the candidates who qualify don't make it all the way through. So I think we could be a little bit, think that not necessarily all of those candidates we projected would make it all the way through for full funding. So whatever funds are available, on a sufficiency determination needs to be made. So next June 30th, which is 1 year preceding the primary election, which this could be the candidates will run, the director of finance has to evaluate, as we said earlier, whether there's enough funding to meet this, and then reduce the amount that gets paid out, announce that at that time, announce that reduction. And so this comes just a month just after the next fiscal budget is adopted. So next slide, please. So here's just a quick overview. The legislation was passed in 2018. Unfortunately, for the first 5 years, no funds were put in. And this is unfortunate because when it was enacted in 2018, there was a specific discussion that there'd be 8 years before it would go into effect, allowing ample time to raise the funds without a major hit in any 1 year. And so unfortunately, though, nothing was put in the budget until last year. So a year ago, $400,000 was put into the budget. We had our first meeting in October last year, at which point there was the $400,000 in the budget. We reviewed the information we had available at the time, and we settled on that amount of 3.65 million that was in the last slide as a target for funding. So that was our target that we have recommended in the fund for the 2026 election. And we proposed that 2 million be appropriated last year in this current budget and 1.25 million in the coming fiscal year's budget, FY26. Unfortunately, and when the proposed budget came from the county executive this past year, there was $400,000 in it. But the council said the budget was tight, and for a variety of reasons, that was cut from the budget. So it was zeroed out, nothing came in. Concerned that the program was at risk, we looked at, we realized that most of the big opportunity is in the next fiscal year. But with that being such a big lift at once, we wrote a letter, sent it to county executive, asking if there's any way that at least some money could still be allocated this year. That comes through what's called a supplemental allocation. So the big budget is set, the total cap is set for the budget, but life happens. Some expenses turn out to be, you have to have special elections, so you have to move money around. Sometimes funding programs aren't, there's a little bit that isn't spent that can be moved. So there is a established process for reallocating funds, and that was our request that be done. For that to happen, we're going to have clear public support, and we're going to have council support. So that is one thing. So what can you do as a public, someone interested in this program? What can we do as commission? Is we can tell our elected officials, tell the county executive, the county council that this is an important program to both find some amount to put in the budget to get this moving, and then make a serious commitment in the next budget. So the county executive staff has already begun developing the budget for fiscal year 26. That budget, there will be listening sessions the public can participate in. There's opportunities now to weigh in, send in comments, tell the executive, tell the county council, because it's important that the county council also express their concern and their interest, and convey that to the executive and the executive staff so that it is put in the budget. And then the county executive's proposed budget will come in, I think it's in early March. And at that point, then the county council reviews it, has public hearings, and they can move money around and do negotiation with the county executive. And then they will, in late May, usually have their final vote on that budget, which has to be adopted by June 1. And as we just mentioned, so by June 1, we'll know how much totally is in the fund. And the finance director then, by July 1 or June 30th, has to make a determination of what the payouts for the offices will be if there's a shortfall. Next slide. So I think I've just sort of made these points that the program is seriously underfunded, and really the next 6 months that's do or die. That's the crucial period that we need the funding to occur. And we laid out, there's two paths. One is a supplemental budget allocation, and the other is then the budget appropriation. And we have sent a request in for $2 million, which was the original request for the fiscal budget. Personally, that is our formal request. I think I would be happy individually, and even if we had a supplemental appropriation that was the amount that was in the original proposed budget from last year, $400,000. That's not the official position of the commission, but I think it would be a great signal to have at least something. And the budget is tight, we know right now. It is very tight. But and as we learned from meetings that we recently had with the executive staff and other discussions, this is a political process. So we're not going to get the funding unless we get strong support from public and from the county council to weigh in on this. And with the changes that are coming, we're in a little bit of a limbo. So the council will have a new county executive that will be named in the first week in December. And then depending upon how the current executive, our new senator, departs, and depending on when and how she departs, we're likely to have a special election for the county executive. And so the campaign itself, and then there'll be special elections for the members who've moved around. So the new at-large member, Jolene Ivy, will be vacating her District 5 seat, which is where I live. So there'll be a special election over this winter and spring for that seat. So these are opportunities for us all to raise this issue. What better time to raise an issue about campaign financing than during a campaign? So I would challenge us all to raise these issues now with our elected officials and raise them and make them campaign issues in the mini elections that we're going to be having in the next few months. Next slide. So I'll just reiterate what we started with, that our public campaign finance program was established to promote and encourage broader access to elected office in the county and to reduce the undue influence of large donations, to enable citizens to run for office on the strength of their ideas, supported by small donations from community members and matching funds from the Fair Election Fund. Next, and I think final slide there for.
I think that's Commissioner Nelson.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I am Commissioner Keisha Nelson. I hope you all have enjoyed this engaging session. We just wanted to highlight our contact information. If you needed to get in contact with us, we have a county managed email address that you see on the screen, as well as a commission managed email address. Feel free to email any questions, concerns you may have, and also note that the commission managed email address is managed independently by the Fair Election Fund commissioners and is separate from the Prince George's County IT infrastructure and is not subject to county oversight. And please also visit and bookmark our website on the county, Prince George's County government website. You can always find information about the commission there, as well as our meeting links and information, as well as recordings and meeting minutes. Next slide. And we also welcome and invite you to ask questions in our Q&A. If you have any questions you want to pose to the commission at this time, our Q&A is also open.
There are no questions in the Q&A at the moment. There is someone with a hand raised. I'm going to unmute that person to see if she would like to ask her question or give a comment out loud. Ms. Johnson, if you would like to ask your question, feel free to unmute your mic.
I don't have a question. I accidentally hit it. Sorry.
Okay, okay, thank you. All right, so there are no questions in the Q&A box.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think one
Go
thing
ahead.
that I'm not sure if we touched on this, but I think it's also maybe helpful and important to point out that there's the matching fund, but campaign that doesn't limit that's not the total cap on the expenditures. So once campaign can max out on its matching, but then can continue soliciting contributions up to $250 per contributor. Those just won't be matched. So this is just an extraordinary way for folks to jumpstart a campaign or to really demonstrate grassroots support. And I think that probably all of us have had some experience with campaigns and all. And for a district council candidate to qualify 150 contributions, I mean, that's a lot of pounding the pavement or having coffees and special events and meetings with people, going to the farmers markets, like the example that came in earlier. So 150, and from those you have to get $7,500. That's it's a lot of work. And so I think it's really important that we can convey that this is not a giveaway. This isn't something that, oh, I want to run for office, so hand me some money and I'll run for office. One has got to earn this. And I think that is sort of the magic of this program. It was one of the great things that occurred when it was created. And so I'm just excited that the possibilities of seeing candidates really out in the public, pounding the pavement, getting their ideas, getting the support, or as was mentioned earlier, to tell somebody their $5 contribution or $25 contribution is going to get matched 7 times. I mean, that's a powerful incentive to get the attention, and I think will be a important thing for democracy in the county. So I'm excited that with the possibility, it's just a challenge to get that funding that we had hoped would be there by now because of the time, but it's going to be hard work on all of our part to achieve that, but let's try.
Yeah, if I could add a point there, I think when you take your message out and when it resonates with the people who gave you that $5 or $25 will be telling their neighbors, we have a great candidate running. I just gave him $25. And then they would listen to your message and they'd say, gosh, that would be great to have this person in office. That is how this message multiplies. The point is you have to be a candidate who is working for issues that people care about. And when they care about the issues, then the votes come and the dollars come.
Thank you so much, commissioners, and thank you for everyone who came out tonight to hear the presentation, as well as those who will be watching this virtually as we send this out to different organizations throughout Prince George's County, and this will be up on the website for anyone to review. I think the important thing to take away from all of this conversation is that it is important to support your community and support those who are advocating for what is best for your community. And this is one avenue of how to do it. And since it is legislation, and since we are the commission to support it, we want it to run and operate to its best ability. And that means that we need money. So thank you so much for joining us. And we look to see you next month as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And we're all available to come to public meetings or to help continue to get the word out. So please contact the commission at the through the website or the emails.
And so that concludes our meeting for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will see you guys next month. Please have a wonderful evening and be safe.
And a happy
Thanks.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, staff, for your
You know?
support.
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving or
Yes.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Right, yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Happy overeating day.
There you are.
Yes, there it is. There it is. That is it.
Take
Night.
care.
Good night.